David, is it David again? David and his wife's concerns, and I want to try to address those. First off, in reference to the driveway entrance there, or the main subdivision entrance itself, I met with Lane Hall and Michael Westcott, who will be the engineer on this project. We discussed the driveway permit application. Actually, when we get to the point of actual site plan approval, if we get to that point, we will be making some adjustments to accommodate some recommendations that Lane Hall made, so we could process a driveway application that would meet his approvals. So he has looked at that, and he feels that that's no problem in reference to making sure that we provide the adequate safety ingress and egress lanes that would be necessary for that particular site. The speed limit on that road right there is 45 miles per hour. And in addition to it, one of the things that Lane brought up is that, again, it's our intention to make sure that that secondary entrance into Squirrel Chase, which would be that drive into Squirrel Chase Drive, would remain closed during the majority of the construction, but that traffic would eventually be dispersed in both directions once it's all been completed in the neighborhood. Wildlife, I just don't know from an OSRD standpoint what more we could do as far as addressing, the environmental issues and what we consider the wildlife corridors on this site. I mean, the Hall River, of course, is a major wildlife corridor. The streams, we've set back from those. The slopes, we've done everything I think we possibly could do with the site, taking that into consideration. The issue about rock, he is correct. On this area right in here, there's obviously some rock that is below subgrade. It's our intention to do the geological testing to make sure that it's even feasible to go through that, but we don't foresee it being an issue with the area that we think it's limited to. When you actually, our first preference is never to blast rock. Our first preference, because it's that's an expensive alternative. Typically, you can move it with heavy equipment, with a track hoe or some other piece of equipment. If you all recall, the Henson Forest at one time was proposed to be a rock quarry. Well, there's places on it probably should have been a rock quarry, then I've discovered them. And with the exception of one time, did we ever have to blast over there. If you do blast, you don't have a danger of flying rock and debris. You core drill into the rock itself. It's done by a professional. It's regulated by the fire marshal. He does come out and check it. And what they do is they only blast the rock to fragment the rock, not to explode it into the air. So that's something that just simply isn't going to occur as far as it being a flying hazard or something of that nature. If there is rock on that site, again, it's our intention to try to remove it with heavy equipment, preferably. Community well. When we test for a community well, we'll locate our well sites, we'll drill those well sites, and anything within, I think, a mile radius of that particular wellhead, the health department is required by law to send out a notice, and they do, to any surrounding property owner to let them be aware that we're doing a 24-hour drawdown test. 24-hour drawdown test on a well, let's say, for example, if it has 100 gallons of water, you get there and you pump it at the rate of 100 gallons a minute. And that stresses a well to its most extreme point that will most likely ever be pumped. If during that 24-hour drawdown period, if one of the adjacent property owners has a problem with their well, then the health department will make us go back, retest that well, and monitor that additional property owner's well to make sure we're not affecting their well water supply. And I have no issues with that. I think it's an appropriate monitoring method, and the last thing I want to do is impact the neighbor and have somebody upset. And the property that abuts their property, it's RS40, is already zoned. And whether I would develop it or somebody else would develop it, it's going to get developed. And in the county, you have a 40-foot buffer that you have to set back from the backside of the property. And anybody who's, well, I won't say anybody because I understand some people this week actually went to the extent of cutting down primary conservation space, but it's our intention to maintain trees, not to take down trees. Trees sell houses. The more trees, the better off our neighborhoods are. When we sell a lot in Henson Forest or at Henson Farms or in the neighborhood, we walk the lot with every single builder. They have to put tape on every single tree. And I'm notorious for putting the tape in my pocket when the builder might have put it on the tree. So trees help me sell houses. Not only do we develop homes, we sell homes. And you know, once that builder builds that house, it becomes my responsibility to sell it. And if I got trees that help me do it, I'm going to make my job a little bit easier. So we are very concerned about the tree issue as well. And I think one of the things we did within our plan here was to try to design this around the areas that were already cut and natural, not areas that were in, you know, primary conservation areas.
Thank you. Is there any further questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I've got one. You mentioned when they would go online for the homeowner as well. What happens if you find that while you're doing your test that it is drying water away from the well? What happens then?
I think the health department at that point won't issue the permit for the well. If it's stressing your test, I mean, if it's stressing your well, I would be under, I'd be real surprised if the health department would issue that permit for that well.
Have you had that occur before?
Never had it occur. Yes.
All right. Any further questions? Anybody have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mark. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bob. Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, okay. That's unanimous.
I know that. I appreciate it.
Okay.
The only reason is because it is a good plan.
Thank you.
And I like that kind of good plan. And I want to see more of those in the future. Not real soon.
I got a different flavor coming your way.
Yes, Paul, I commend you on doing your homework.
Did we invite you back?
May I please come back?
Jane is now unexcused.
I thought you slipped out of here.
No, I was keeping my eye on
No,
her.
no, I was taking notes.
Ms. Caroline, I just want to say, I guess you vote for rezonings about as often as I recommend approval for residential rezonings in Summerfield, so we're kind of on the same page. I agree. Okay, we have a, actually, this is not a preliminary plat approval, this is a sketch plan approval for subdivision, case number 2004-149, not to be confused with the preliminary plat approval itself. We will have to come back before you with that, with the primary and secondary conservation areas actually delineated on the plat, as well as off-site septic areas, if there be any. What we're looking at right now is that middle area that's already zoned RS40, and the sketch plan within that. Do you like the layout of lots? Do you like the layout of the open space? That's what we're getting at. This is for the Woodlands at Lake Brant Road, located at the terminus of Squirrel Chase Drive in Bruce Township, being Guilford County Tax Map 6-335, Block 843, Parcel 8, and consisting of 27 lots, proposed, common area, and road dedication for a total of approximately 39.21 acres. It is zoned RS40, it is owned by Henson Realty LLC, and it is not located in a water supply watershed. Staff's notes are that the parcel is currently vacant and mostly wooded. There are no existing farm roads or structures on this portion of the property to be incorporated into the plan. There is an existing trail in the wooded areas. This plan comprises the center portion of a larger development and is designed to work within that larger plan in a seamless configuration between the two OSRD portions. In other words, it's supposed to look kind of like OSRD development, even though it's RS40. The plan is for 27 lots to be developed on the 39.21 acres in an RS40 plan with additional open space dedicated beyond the ordinance requirements, preserving the floodplain, steeper slopes, and drainage ways and open space. The lots will contain stands of hardwood trees and some of the steeper slope areas. Total open space dedicated is 9.29 acres or 23.3